Welcome to the Small Business Sisterhood podcast. I'm your host, Pepper Makepeace, an online business strategist for female solopreneurs and side hustlers, and founder of the Small Business Sisterhood, an online membership community serving small business owners in the first stages of business. Join me as I go behind the scenes with female entrepreneurs, revealing the struggles, strategies, and inspiring stories of these amazing women. If you're interested in connecting with like-minded women, learning effective business strategies from the experts, and being a part of a mastermind group that helps you grow your business, check us out at smallbusinesssisterhood.com. Today we're talking to Andrea Jordan, a business strategist who supports entrepreneurs, creatives, and adventurers to create the business and life they've dreamed of. With a rare combination of expertise in corporate law and business coaching, together with a degree in accounting, Andrea knows her stuff. Andrea is also a digital nomad who is traveling throughout Latin America. When she's not working with entrepreneurs, you can find her with her camera in hand capturing the beauty that she sees and volunteering at animal shelters. Andrea, I'm so happy that you are on the podcast with me today. I'm excited to talk to you and learn more about your business. So thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
Tell me a little bit more about your business and how you got started.
These days I am a business strategist and I help businesses that are in the first 1 to 3 years of their business. And essentially I help them grow. So I plan with them and we look at their systems and we make their life simpler rather than overcomplicating things. And how I came to this particular business is I have a background in corporate law. I was a lawyer for over 17 years, and as I came to the end of that career, or the few years into the end of that career, I realized that I didn't want to keep doing that for the rest of my days. So I began to look around to see what else was possible for me. And I retrained as a coach, a life coach at that stage, and found that the people I enjoyed coaching the most were the people who were in business and new to business. And so I have taken that law knowledge and an accounting degree and the coach training and the strategy training I've done and wrapped it all up into my current business.
And tell me more about how you work with your clients.
I work with them in a variety of ways. Some of my clients I work on a one-to-one basis, and we do that over Skype. So they'll have a scheduled time with me and we chat through where their business is, and we generally are chatting about their life as well because business doesn't operate inside a bubble. So we have some great conversations about what they're up to. And then I also offer a couple of courses that I run, and these are group coaching courses. So they're a good way for people to have access to coaching, to try it out for themselves and see if they like it. And I run one course that's particularly related to business blogging, and another course that I'm doing is really related to action. I see a lot of people planning and then starting to come unstuck when they actually have to take action. So within that course, people pick one project or one goal, and then for 30 days, that is their sole focus. And yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun to run.
Awesome. So how did you decide on life coaching after your law career?
Yeah, when I was still a lawyer, I went to see some career coaches, and they were fantastic. And that was my first introduction to being coached. And it was so wonderful to have someone who was independent. They didn't judge what I was doing, and they provided me with a fresh perspective on what I could be doing with myself in future careers. And because I enjoyed that so much, and because being a lawyer is so technical, you don't necessarily have those soft skills that really aren't part of your training. I wanted to sort of balance out the skills that I had to offer, and by doing the coaching I could learn all those softer skills that I think are very helpful when I'm talking to people about their business. Because as I said, life comes into things. I'm not going to sit there with a client and solely talk about their marketing. We have to factor in that they might be having a lot of self-doubt about putting themselves out there and creating a video for Facebook Live. So the coaching really helps balance things out. So yeah, it was a great experience when I was being coached, and it just led me on to getting retrained.
I love that because, some people, they just hear about life coaching or whatever and they think it sounds fun or something, but for you to have experienced it and had such a positive experience with it that made you want to incorporate that into what you do, I think that's a really beautiful organic process.
Yeah, it's funny how things come together because when I was doing the training, I wasn't really sure where it was going to lead. Mm-hmm. I just was starting to explore different things. And it's wonderful how it's actually come full circle, and now I can provide those same kind of services, almost paying back the services that I was able to receive when I was changing my career.
Nice. Yeah. So was the transition from being a corporate lawyer to being a business owner, a life coach, was that a difficult process for you to transition?
Oh, yes. Yes, that was quite an experience. I had foolishly thought that, here was me, a corporate lawyer, lots of experience. I'd run multi-million-pound transactions. So, running my own smaller business, that wouldn't be difficult. And I remember reading blog posts about the entrepreneurs who were writing about mindset, and I couldn't quite figure out what they were talking about while I was still an employee. Mm-hmm. And then you leave that nice, relatively safe environment and start out on your own business. And boy, that's when I really learned about the power of mindset, because it is just you sitting in front of that laptop. You are solely responsible for the work that you do or that you don't do and how you manage everything in your business. So yeah, that was quite a learning curve for me in that first year.
Yeah, you're not alone on that one for sure. It's quite a different environment, and you don't have a sales team, you don't have an accountant. When you're first starting out, it's all you. So I hear you.
Yeah, and I think as an employee, even when you're quite senior, you are to a certain extent being told what to do. When I was a lawyer and I'd been there for quite some time, I was running the transactions, but the transaction had come in a certain way, and I knew that I had to do certain things because the law required it. And you had to do that thing on Wednesday and that thing on Friday. When you become a business owner, you have to create that structure for yourself. And that is quite a change in mindset.
Can you tell me a little bit more about how you've structured your own business and figured out how all that works for yourself?
Trial and error was a lot of it. When you're a lawyer, you have to track your time usually. So every 6 minutes of my day I had to account for. And so when I started my own business, I was like, I'm sick of having to track that. I went like a pendulum right to the other extreme of not wanting to structure my day at all.
Right.
And then, I've swum back to a more comfortable way of working, because you need to keep account of your time. You need to know at the end of the day what you've done, if you've achieved what you want to do, and how you're going to structure the rest of your week. So I have various systems I put in place for myself. So, for example, on a Sunday afternoon or evening, I sit down and I write out my goal for the following week, and then I write out the 3 or 4 tasks that I'm going to do for each day, so that I know when I get up on Monday morning exactly what I'm going to do that morning, and the same for Tuesday and Wednesday. So I've got a very clear plan and know that the things that I'm doing are tracking towards a particular goal, because it's very easy just to get caught up in that busy work and then to wonder why you're not making the progress that you want to.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's how I start my week, and then on a Friday afternoon I'll sit down and I'll review the week and look at what I did and check in with what worked and didn't work. Whether I gave myself too much to do on Wednesday, whether the task I'd set actually was something that was a much bigger task and needed to be split on different days. So it's a constant a work in progress to see what works and what doesn't, but you really need to have a way of being very conscious about the tasks that you're doing. Otherwise, your time can disappear.
Yeah, it goes so fast. I've gotten stuck spending a lot of time doing things that aren't towards the goal that I set for myself. And so really being conscious of how we spend our time and how much time we allow ourselves to spiral down the rabbit hole that is Facebook.
Yes, Facebook. Yeah. You definitely need to manage that, because sometimes I'll go into Facebook with one particular task I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then it'll be like, oh, look, a squirrel. And half an hour later you come up for breath going, what was I in here for?
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, you do need to be very conscious of how you use Facebook, and don't leave it open even when you're working on something else, because it's just too easy just to pop over and see what's happened in the 2 minutes since you've been there last.
Right.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Do you use any online programs that kind of help you with your systems, or do you kind of do it all on your own?
No, I definitely use online tools. I think you have to. As soon as your business starts growing, you can't do it all yourself unless you are, only having a very, very small number of clients and you're charging a higher level, if that's your business model maybe. But for most of us, definitely. So the kind of tools that I have in place is when people come to something as simple as come to pay me, they go to my website and click on the, buy now button, and they get sent through to PayPal, and they pay me, and then I have automated emails set up. So if someone comes to buy one-to-one services with me, as soon as they've paid, they'll get an email from me saying, here's a link to my online calendar, so they can book in straight away. And that I find is really useful because, I'm working with clients in different time zones.
Mm-hmm.
So if it happens to be night where I am, I don't want them to have to wait, 12 hours until I'm awake back at work in order to get the acknowledgement that their payment's been received. And the online tool is fantastic because, again, with the different time zones, I put in all my time and it links to my calendar. But the clients, when they go in, can use a drop-down menu to select the available times showing in their time zone. And that just removes that back and forth with emails. Will the 12th work at 12 p.m.? Whose time zone? And, that back and forth, that can take a lot of emails, and it's a lot of wasted time, whereas people go into, a nice online calendar and boom, they can see straight away. So PayPal is one, online calendar is another, and then having an email provider where you can set up the automated messages. And not all of my messages are automated. Like I send out a weekly newsletter to my readers. That's me writing on that day or the day before. But with the sort of payment system, and when people get access to the welcome gifts that I have on my site, that's all set up automatically so people can get instant access to the things that I provide. And that really helps to smooth out the workflow. Yeah, so those are some of the tools that I use.
And I love that it's for both of you and your client. Like, you save time and a lot of work on your end, and they also get quicker access to you and to your products. It's not just for you, but it's for everybody. I'm sure your clients appreciate that system as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's part of setting up the way in which we all set up our different businesses, is you have to think, what kind of experience would I like to create for my customer? Yeah. And some people would hate automatic emails and they want everything to be completely bespoke and they'll do it all themselves, whereas some of us are quite happy to have an element of automation that gives the customers quick access to our products and to book in with our services, and then we have an element of the bespoke coming in when we actually provide the services.
Right.
Yeah, I think people need to think about what they'd like their customer experience to be, and also what you've enjoyed in the past, like how you enjoy getting customer service, because I think how we enjoy getting it is usually how we then provide it.
Right, I agree. I know that you like to move around a lot. You are quite the digital nomad, and I want to hear more about that and how the systems kind of come into play with that when you're in spotty Wi-Fi areas or no Wi-Fi areas, which I know you're going to soon. So tell me how all that works, and how do you make the digital nomad business lifestyle work for you?
Yeah, so I've been a full-time digital nomad since May of last year. And I had really tested out the waters for the 2 previous years. Over a New Zealand winter, I'd head away to Bali or to Thailand and take my business with me. And since May of last year, I've been traveling throughout Latin America with literally my business in my backpack. And the way I like to travel these days is to stay at least a month in each place, because I find that way it's easier for running a business. and also I can really get to know an area rather than jumping around, and that's simply what suits me. I do have sometimes where the Wi-Fi is very patchy. I had an experience in Guatemala. I was staying by a beautiful lake, Lake Atalan, for 5 weeks. But the email some days was so slow. It was that kind of day where you are refreshing your screen 10 times to just get something to work.
Right.
So you definitely have times like that. And having the kind of system set up that I was talking about, that's fantastic, because it doesn't matter how good my Wi-Fi is, my customer still gets the same service.
Right.
And it's the same with scheduling out blog posts. I always have at least a week, very minimum at least a week, more like 2 or 3 weeks schedules out in advance. Because then if I hit a patch where Wi-Fi is terrible and I can't, say, upload my photos, because I'm a photographer as well, then I don't have to worry about it because I've set it to go. And the same thing with posting to social media. I always like to have, a few weeks in advance scheduled out. I still will go into social media and do spontaneous posts, but I like to know that my blog posts are all scheduled to go out on social media as well. So the content that I create is still being provided even if I hit the dodgy Wi-Fi.
So how do you plan out your content? Like, what is your process for that?
I like spreadsheets. And I know for some people they're going to be horrified at that spreadsheet too. With my blog posts, I have a 3-step system that I use to come up with ideas for my blog posts. And so I'll have a whole list of ideas set out in advance. And what I find really good when you're blogging is to separate out the different tasks involved in the blogging. So I will sit down and I'll brainstorm my blog post, say, for the next 3 months. And I'll also at the same time write down sort of the main talking points that I want to hit in each of those blog posts. And so when I come to write the blog post, there's no dealing with writer's block, nothing like that, because I've already got the idea for the blog post as well as the talking points. So I can then, simply sit down and write, 2 or 3 blog posts in the same block of time that I set out in my calendar. And I have a spreadsheet that sets out all of the ideas that I have and the dates that everything's going to be published. And then I do something similar with Facebook as my main social media platform I'm working on at the moment. And I've simply created a calendar with the days on it, and then I try and post out 3 times a day. And so I plan out in advance what I'm going to post on each day and at what time. So I'll know that on Tuesday, that's the day that my business blog will be published. And then I'll know that on Thursday at 1 o'clock, that's when my travel posts for the week will be published, and I'll have all the bits and pieces filled in between. And that makes life so much simpler, because once you've done that planning, then you just take away the indecision and the thinking about things, and you just sit down and just create your content. That's how I use the planning and the scheduling for those 2 main tasks.
I love that. That's so organized and wonderful, and I'm impressed that you can do that like 3 weeks out. I'm good if I can do it like a week out, and I do similar to what you do, but I'm not able to do the 3 weeks. Maybe I need to up my game a little bit.
And it also, I get motivated as well, knowing that if I don't do a few weeks out, I can get stuck really easily, because, say, my travel plans for next week, on Tuesday I'm moving to a different town. I'm there for 2 nights, and then I get a ferry to Buenos Aires. I'm there for 1 night. Then I'm going somewhere else for 3 weeks, and I don't usually move around that much. But if I'm not organized with my blog posts, then it becomes stressful, and I start writing blog posts for the sake of it, just to get them out, which is just not the way I want to operate.
Yeah.
So, I've learned to do this scheduling through basically, screwing up in the past. So much easier. Even if you have the week in advance, it just makes it so much easier if, your server goes down. Right. Or suddenly, someone invites you to a great event, or your kids suddenly remember that actually they've got swimming sports that day.
Right.
It's just great that you know that, I'm fine, I'm covered, and I don't need to worry about panic writing a blog post the night before. So although having structure like that, I know for creative people it can sound really just too restrictive. I tell you, putting in place a structure it really frees up your creativity. So I highly recommend taking steps to get some structure in place.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think that, the creativity aspect, for me, like you were talking about batching out your content, I think, when you're in that creative space, you're writing, and it's so much easier to do kind of all at once when you get in the flow and things are moving, and you can be really creative, and you don't feel that stress of, you need to get it out tomorrow or something. It's, it's planned in the future. I think that that's such a great combination of things to kind of create that space where it's not a stressful process, and it can be freeing, like you said. So I wholeheartedly agree with you.
Yeah, and it's so much more fun if you're just writing for the fun of it. And what I find as well is if I don't need to be, because I write in a Word document, then I copy and paste into the back end of my site, so I kind of have that automatic backup, is I don't need to be connected to Wi-Fi when I'm writing. So I can head off and I can write in a cafe, and it, I can change up my work environment. So that's a really nice side benefit as well of not having to be, connected to Wi-Fi, panic writing.
Right.
You can structure your work day in a different way. It gives you more flexibility.
Yeah. Well, and it's made you be able to create that lifestyle that you love of, being able to travel and be flexible with your schedule that way. I think that's amazing. And can you tell me more about how you have decided to do the digital nomad life and how that plays into your business?
Yeah. I've always loved to travel. I remember talking to someone the other day, the first big trip that I did was in 1995. And that was between university and starting work as a lawyer, and I had a spare 6 months, so I did this around the world trip and knew that I was going to be travelling more. And so I started work in New Zealand, ended up going to live in London and worked as a lawyer for 8 years and was able to travel to some amazing places. And at that time I'd never heard of a digital nomad. I had no clue that kind of world. And it wasn't until I was, towards the end of my career and starting to look to see what else I could do that I even started to hear about people who were remotely working. I knew it was possible. Some days I did that as a lawyer and I worked from home and I had to log into a different system. So I knew it was possible, but as a lawyer, it's not really that acceptable. You need to be at work so that clients can see you whenever they feel like it. So it was just one of those learning processes. And I have set my business up in a way that I could work from anywhere with the view that I didn't necessarily want to be in a certain city in New Zealand. I grew up in the country and I like to be in the country. So I wanted to have a business that I didn't actually have to be in a certain location within New Zealand. And then it just naturally came together once I could be location independent and with loving the travel, that I was able to learn that, hey, people are actually doing this as they travel and that's possible. And and then the rest is history.
I love it. I love it. So for somebody that is interested in doing a similar, business style, what would you recommend to them for getting started with that?
I would, if I was chatting to someone, I would ask them what it is about this lifestyle that appeals. There are lots of different ways of doing this, and I think it's really important that people find the way that works for them. For me, this works at the moment, but it may be that actually in a few months I want to settle down somewhere, so I actually stay somewhere for 3 months rather than 1 month. So I think if people are really keen to travel, they should think about what it is about the traveling they like. Even if something as simple as, do they like the idea of being near a beach or being near the snow? What kind of countries do they want to go to? How much work do they want to be doing? Because I have quite a few of my friends who say, how's your holiday going? Because they just think that I'm on holiday because the kind of photos I post. I don't post me sitting at my desk working. So working just through those basics and just digging in a bit more about why someone else's lifestyle looks appealing to you. You know, I know of digital nomads who move on much quicker than me, and they do less hours and they move every week or so. And I just would not want to do that. And other people I know base themselves somewhere for 3 months and, you know, go to 4 different countries in a year. And then other people like having their home base in their home country, but then they will spend 3 or 4 months over winter somewhere funny.
Right.
So there are so many different options for people. So I would say have a look at what appeals to you, what kind of lifestyle you would actually like to have. And I think that's a really good first step for people.
Great. Tell me a little bit more about your first year in business. Was there anything that was difficult or surprising that came up?
Gosh, it's such a learning curve. You know, you think, okay, this is my skill set. You know, I'm going to be a coach, for example. And the actual one-to-one client work is such a small part of your day. You know, you've got marketing to do, you've got operations to do, you've got emails to answer. You might have to build a website. You've got all the technology to get your head around your email providers and PayPal and all of that kind of stuff. So I think that was a little surprising to me, just how much time all of those other aspects of my business took.
Yeah.
So that was probably the first surprise. And yeah, there were lots of challenges along the way. You know, there were many times I wanted to throw my laptop out the window.
Yeah, that first stage is really challenging, I think. And I find it really inspiring, though, to hear people talk about it and know that they've made it through, and it didn't just... Because sometimes things feel so big when they happen, like if your server crashes and your website's down for a week or whatever, like it feels so drastic and important, but there's ways to work around it. And I think that hearing about people's own experiences and that they've come out on the other side of it and everything's okay, and I think that's really inspiring and encouraging.
Yeah, I think you've got to realize going into the business that there are going to be those times where you will simply need to be eating a lot of chocolate ice cream and having a Netflix binge, because it's not going to go smoothly. Like, you will have some fantastic times, like your first client, the first person that signs up to your newsletter or your list. That's absolutely wonderful. But then there will be those times where you launch a product and it's cricket. And that's, you know, why talking about mindset before is so important, because you've got to have ways to deal with that kind of stuff. Otherwise, you simply will give up. You'll be like, this is too hard. I can't be doing it right. There must be some secret I don't know about. A lot of self-doubt can come into the play. And even if you're very successful straight away, you know, that can bring with it its own problems. All of a sudden, every hour of your day is taken up with your business and you have no life, and your friends wonder what have happened to you. So I don't know anyone who has smoothly gone into starting their own business. I think you're far better to expect there to be a lot of bumps coming up and to accept that you'll need to deal with them. And, you know, 95% of them you can figure out. And I think that's the kind of attitude to develop within yourself, rather than saying, I don't know how to do this. Look at it and go, what piece do I know? What don't I know? What am I going to need to learn? Who can I reach out to? If you're asking yourself those kind of questions, then your brain is naturally going to kick in and help you. But if you just sit there going, I don't know where to start, I don't know what I'm doing, you're going to be in this horrible kind of negative state of helplessness, and that can send you down into a dark, sticky hole quite quickly.
Yeah, that's very true. I think it's really awesome to have people like you as, you know, kind of a guide and give resources and coaching to new business owners, because you can't know everything, and it's great to have somebody to be able to talk to about that. So thank you for the work that you do.
No, it's my pleasure. I mean, I love it, because it's so nice for me when I'm chatting to someone that I can say, I know where you're coming from. I've been there. I've experienced that.
Yeah.
Let's fix that for you. I can show you where I made mistakes so that you don't need to. And so the journey for other people and other business owners coming through can be a lot smoother because they don't need to make the mistakes that I've made. They can skip that whole process and make completely new mistakes themselves.
Yes, absolutely. So any final advice that you would give for somebody that's just starting out? What's the number one piece of advice or action step that you would recommend?
I think it would be to make sure that you've got a good support system. Now, that's not necessarily going to be your friends and family. I would say don't expect your friends and family that you have when you start your business to provide the kind of support you might need. And that's simply because you might be doing something that is quite unusual. I didn't have very many friends who had started their own business, and they won't understand when you start talking about the fact that Weber is not talking to PayPal today and I can't get anything to work. They'll support you in their own way as friends do, and they'll sit there on the couch with you while you're having your Netflix binge. But I would say seek out communities of people who are working on their own businesses because they will get where you're coming from. And they can be in-person organizations, they can be Facebook groups. I would say, when you get started, don't think that you're going to do it all by yourself because that is a mistake I made because I'm naturally quite self-sufficient. And it's so nice when someone else says to you, you're not alone.
Yeah.
I've been in that same boat. And it's even that simple thing. It's just really nice to know that you're not a screw up, that this is all completely natural. You're going to have good days and bad days. So my biggest piece of advice would be get support. If you're even thinking about starting a business, find that support now.
Yes. Hear, hear. When I started out, I didn't have it, and it was incredibly hard to just kind of be in that vacuum by myself and not have somebody say, hey, that's normal.
And it's not a healthy vacuum to be in because it's very hard, I think, when you're in it by yourself to split your life between your business and feeling maybe a bit rubbish about your business and the rest of your life. And I find, your confidence can be affected because you've lost the status you may have as an employee and all of a sudden you are ground zero starting from scratch.
Right.
You really, having other people around just gives you some good perspective that it's not the end of the world.
Right.
If you can't get Weber to work. Email them and ask them. They've got really good support. There's no need to panic. There's always a way to work through things. But sometimes we need to be reminded of that. We need someone to sit there with us and remind us that we actually have a fully functioning brain and we just need to access it. And being able to talk with someone either face-to-face or, just within a Facebook group can just give you that boost that you need to get you back on track.
So what do you have coming up for your business this year? Do you have any big projects you're working on?
I have my Kickstart Your Business blog course. It's about to come up again. And I have two ways that people can do that. They can either do it as a DIY, just take it at their own pace. And then I'll also be having a live version. And the live version is great because I'll be in there with the Facebook group. I'm going to be reading the blog posts that you're writing and giving you feedback. And, it's a really nice environment and you can see what other people are writing and what other sort of experience people are having. And that's something I love to do because I've loved writing since I was a little kid. I remember winning a writing competition when I was 11 and it was fabulous.
Oh, wow.
So that's one thing I've been able to bring into my business strategy work is my love of writing. And to be able to help people because I know not everyone likes writing. So I help people either who are just starting out with their business blog or who just can't seem to get it going in a consistent way. And so that's what I'll be having coming up immediately. And then I have my other program I mentioned, idea to implementation. I'll just have to see how my travel goes and how everything can work together because I need to be available. Make sure that your Wi-Fi is going to be good for a month before you commit to running a program.
Right. Well, that all sounds fantastic. I think I'm going to have to sign up for your blogging course. I love the idea of having somebody like read your blog posts and give you feedback. I mean, that's kind of a rare thing. So I think that sounds awesome. So everybody sign up for that course.
Yeah, definitely, because I love doing it, and I get to read some really varied, like, you know, one of my clients will be a pet photographer, so I'll get to read about their photo shoot, which is fabulous for me because I volunteer at animal shelters and I'm a photographer. So that's really interesting. And then someone else will be writing on fitness. I'm like, wow, you know, and I get to learn all these different things. So yeah. I love to be able to read what everyone has written and then to be able to help them to improve their writing and all of the things that go with blogging it's great fun for me.
Well, I love how you've created this business that you love, and I can hear it in your voice, and every time I talk to you, I know that you love what you do and you love helping people with their businesses, and you've created this amazing lifestyle to go with it that I think it's so inspiring because I can really see how it's possible. I mean, usually, like, the whole point of any of us starting a business is to do something that we actually care about and that we love to do, but then it gets hard and then it doesn't feel fun or whatever. But I think because you've created this structure around your business with systems and kind of knowing what you like, that you've created a business that you actually enjoy. And I think that that's awesome.
And I think, you know, there are still parts of when I do my business that I don't enjoy. So I think people need to realize, even though I enjoy, you know, the actual work I do, there are times when I'm sitting there swearing at my laptop, just like everyone else.
Yeah.
Or don't want to do another Facebook post. But I think it's a journey. It's keeping an eye on those things that you don't like doing and seeing if you can either get rid of them in your business or get some help and you know, outsource them to get other people doing them so that you can have more fun with the things that you really like doing.
Yeah.
And like you say, you know, you can hear that I like doing these things. You provide such better service if it's something that you personally are excited about.
Yeah.
And I could talk about writing and blogging for ages. So, yeah, finding that thing that you like is really important. And you won't necessarily find it right away in your business. So I think it's good for people to know that there's a certain amount of trial and error that comes about because you don't always see that within a business. You might just, you know, if people come and see my website now, you know, they'll see the blogging and they'll see my travel and stuff. They won't see what my website was like 2 years ago and what I was offering them.
Right.
So I think it's always good for people to know that there has been a lot of trial and error behind the scenes.
Yes, tweaking.
Yeah, constantly, and having a look at things and running a program and thinking, did I actually enjoy that? Was that really interesting? Should I keep that whole program or should I make it longer or shorter or should I add video? It's this ongoing journey that I think if you know it's going to be a journey, then it's a lot more fun rather than thinking you have to get to this particular destination and then all will be good and the angels will sing.
Right. Absolutely. Well, I have had so much fun talking to you, and I just love learning about your business and your lifestyle design of your business. I think it's really inspiring. So thank you so much. Can you tell everybody where they can find you online?
Yeah, it's been my pleasure. People can find me at learndiscoverbefree.com. It's my main website. And if they come along to the website and then pop down to the footer at the bottom, they can see all my social media. So Instagram, I post a lot of my travel photos. So it's kind of a behind the scenes. And then on my Facebook page, I have mix of photography and business and travel so people can come along and be inspired and see what Antarctica looks like.
Thank you, Andrea, for talking with us today. You can find out more information about Andrea and the link to her website in the show notes for this episode at smallbusinesssisterhood.com/14. I hope you found this episode useful and inspiring. If you did, please pop over to iTunes and leave a review. Thanks for listening. Catch you next time.